Mabuhay laban mga kasangga! Handa na ba kayo sa isa namang bago at napapanahong usapan? Ngayong araw, mahahalagang updates ang ibabahagi namin para matulungan kayo sa pagsulong sa ating profesyon. Ito ang napapanahong usapan tungkol sa ating career progression. Welcome to IMAP LABAN Talks. Ako nga pala si Ms. Patricia Gomez, ang Executive Director ng IMAP Incorporated. At kasama natin ngayon sa LABAN Talks ang President ng Association of Philippine Schools of Midwifery. Walang iba kundi si Maria Teresa Padilla. Ms. Met, welcome to LABAN Talks.
Hi, Ms. Pat. Isang araw na puno ng laban, Ms. Pat, at ang ating mga kasangga. Also joining us this afternoon ay walang iba kundi ang Chairman ng Professional Regulatory Board for Midwifery. Walang iba kundi si Dr. Melchor de la Cruz. Kinagagalak namin makasama ka dito, Doc Bong.
Maraming salamat, Ms. Met. Hi, Ms. Pat. Isang araw na puno ng laban sa inyong lahat at sa ating mga kasanggang nanonood ngayon dito sa LABAN Talks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bong. I am sure excited na ang ating mga kasangga sa ating makabagong talakayan dito sa LABAN Talks. Without further ado, let's begin our laban this afternoon. For today, we will be discussing the future direction of midwifery. Kayo ba ay nagtataka kung bakit kaming tatlo ay nandito ngayon? Iyan ay dahil gusto naming ibahagi sa inyo ang mahalagang update sa tatlong key areas ng midwifery. Anong nangyayari ngayon at ang mga plano para mas matulungan pa natin ang ating profesyon. I will be sharing with you about midwifery practice, why we met for education, at si Dr. Bong naman for the regulation. So for our objectives at the end of the session, the participants will be updated with the current status of education practice and regulation, be oriented with the future direction of midwifery education practice and regulation as well, and recognize the importance of ICM or International Confederation of Midwives core competencies and the WHO Global Direction for Midwifery for 2021 up to 2025. So to start off, let me discuss lang the expanded role of midwives for our practice. So we know that midwives' role is expanding to address the basic and changing health needs of the mothers and their children. Like for example, in the provision of 2644, which is enacted in 1990, midwives are not allowed to do internal examination, suturing of perineal laceration, and some other specific tasks because midwives are taught to support the perineum to avoid laceration. However, in RA 7392, enacted in 1992, amending, of course, 2644, expanded the role of the midwives, allowing them to do internal examination, except, of course, if the patient is bleeding, and suturing of perineal laceration up to the 2nd degree, no? And giving of oxytocin after the delivery of the placenta. However, if the midwife is BEMONG trained, she or he can give oxytocin after the delivery of the baby, provided that he or she is certain that there is no second baby after a thorough assessment. So the CPD law or the 10912 mandates the need of professionals to continuously reinforce their knowledge, diba? So we need to engage in continuing professional development to perform this added task and improve, of course, our competencies. Midwifery education, we know, should prepare students to these new responsibilities, no? And again, this will be discussed later, of course, by our expert, no other than Ma'am Padilla, no? For us health workers like the midwives, these CPD activities are important, of course, to enhance our competencies, especially during this pandemic, when midwives are called to perform roles and tasks beyond our duties as healthcare providers. The ERA or the educators, regulators, and association is working together to adequately prepare midwifery students who are well equipped to provide quality midwifery services and be able to handle the demands of the profession at any given setting or situation. So I think, Ms. Met, will you please discuss when it comes to Philippine education system, or what are the updates right now in midwifery education?
Salamat, Ms. Pat. Alam mo, napakarami nga namin ginagawa ngayon sa midwifery education. Isa dito ay ongoing revision in the policies, standards, and guidelines for midwifery program. We have integrated the laws, the ICM core competencies, and the WHO global direction for midwifery. We know that 10354 of 2012 is very important function of the midwife. Aside from that, the universal healthcare, in which primary healthcare is the center of the law. And we know that midwives are the frontliners in terms of community service. So we need to strengthen the primary healthcare in the curriculum. And the last is the integration of the core competencies of the ICM, which was released in 2019. And aside from that, we also have to integrate the global direction for midwifery education of the World Health Organization from 2021 to 2025. All of these things are very important to make our curriculum globally comparable and compatible. We also have to consider that limited face-to-face classes has started after securing the permit from CHED, DOH, and the IATF for levels 1 to 3 areas where face-to-face is already included. And aside from that, we also have to consider that even though there is Omicron variant, we can still have the limited face-to-face if our LGU is within the level of 1 to 3. And then aside from that, for those who are under level 4 and those who cannot comply with the requirements of CHED and DOH regarding the protocol for the limited face-to-face, they can still go to flexible learning activities, which was stated in CMO 4 of the Commission on Higher Education issued in 2020. Aside from that, the clinical practicum guidelines, there are so many schools who are asking, how can the students graduate if they cannot comply with the required cases mandated by RA 7392? Now we are already allowing the students to have clinical practicum in a limited face-to-face, and we have recommended the birthing clinic as part of the affiliating agencies. We know that these things will be possible because we are guiding the schools on how to comply with the protocols of the IATF, DOH, as well as the CHED. And we also have to consider that there is also a supplemental guidelines being prepared by the CHED Commission for those who have some problems with the students with below 18 years old. So kaya kailangan dire-diretso ang trabaho ng Technical Committee on Midwifery Education to continuously assess and assist our schools. Ang APSOM po, marami ring ginagawa kasi hindi lamang po dapat ang school ang na-equip natin. It is important for us to equip our faculty members with the knowledge, skills, and right values so that they will be able to transfer learning to their students. Ang APSO have virtual activities for faculty development. At the same time, the clinical practicum is already allowed using our birthing clinic owners or managers as preceptor for the clinical practicum. Okay? How about your midwifery practice, Ma'am Pat? Kamusta na po ba ang nangyayari sa inyong practice?
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Met. And as to the midwifery practice, because we are the accredited professional organization of midwives, professional midwives, Professional Regulation Commission, we really plays a crucial role in equipping midwives with the necessary competencies, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. But of course, IMAP really continues in providing webinars and online trainings, of course, sabi nga natin, despite of this pandemic, always in collaboration with different government agencies and private sector partners, no? Some of these free webinars and trainings that we provided, of course, to our midwives include the subdermal implant training, the AINC training, the 3Ms or the mentoring and monitoring for midwives, infection prevention and control, which is really necessary or very important nowadays because of this COVID-19, the lactation management, and of course the newborn screening, the communicating, of course, with our client through social media, no? And of course the POGS AINC guidelines during the pandemic as well, and so on, no? So far IMAP, IMAP was able to conduct almost 100 seminars, no, just last year alone, and trainings that are credited, of course, by the CPD Council. So working with the concerned agencies for the amendment also of the midwifery law, we also conducted meetings with PhilHealth regarding claims of birthing clinics and midwives, and we also participated in the preparation of career progression and specialization of midwives. Moreover, IMAP has been involved in several policy development activities intended, of course, for the professional welfare and advancement of midwives. The association also bridges dialogues and deliberations with concerned agencies to voice out the midwives' issues and concern. To date, there are ongoing virtual meetings, of course, with PhilHealth regional offices and private midwives addressing the very pressing issues regarding unpaid PhilHealth claims, such as the result of the intervention initiated, of course, by us, by IMAP leaders, with the top management of the said agencies. There are, of course, as mentioned, dialogues, no, in the regional offices, of course, of the PhilHealth. And when in fact, some of the private midwives, we are happy to announce that some of the private midwives who already received, of course, some of their claims with PhilHealth. And of course, we still have media people also to help us. Alam ng mga midwives yan na nag-viral yung ating interview, of course, with former Senator and Vice President, of course, Noli De Castro. So again, as mentioned, no, IMAP runs a series of topics on mental health during local chapter webinars, no? Then, of course, seminars on mental health coping mechanism. We have also partners coming from government and private sectors and more projects that help enhance the midwifery knowledge, of course, and skills. And during our mid-year and annual convention in relation to venue for midwifery research presentation, no, we encourage our midwives and local chapters, especially those in the GIDA area, to share their best practices as well as to present their researchers conducted. This best practice and research presenters were given, of course, monetary incentive by the association as well as plaque of recognition. So, when it comes to regulation naman, Sir Bong, ano po ba ang pinagkaabalahan ng Midwifery or Professional Regulatory Board ng Midwives ngayon para mapangalagaan naman ang ating mga kasanggang midwives? Dr. Bong, please.
Yes, Ma'am Pat. I have just been listening to you and Ma'am Met, and it seems like we have gone so far as education and practice of the midwives is concerned. Now, the scope of practice of midwifery is actually regulated by the Professional Regulatory Regulation Commission through the Professional Regulatory Board of Midwifery, in which I am the chairman and I have 4 other members. So, the goal of our board is, in order to ensure that the midwives are practicing the profession within their scope of function, we in the board are continuously inspecting and monitoring the operation of birthing homes or birthing centers to ensure provision of quality healthcare services to women during pregnancy, labor, delivery, and the postnatal period, as well as to newborns. We also handle complaints filed to PRC on cases of malpractice, negligence, and other related concerns. Recently, I have received personal complaints from patients regarding the malpractice of midwives. And then we also take care of the conduct of the midwifery licensure examination. Last year, we gave a moratorium in which cases done before 5 years prior to the licensure examination we have considered, and we have requested to extend this moratorium this year. We are still waiting for the approval anytime now. Now, the regulation of the midwifery practice is guided by the Republic Act 7392, also known as the Midwifery Act of 1992. Ma'am Pat has mentioned about this, but let me just reiterate for our midwives that the practice of midwifery refers to any act consisting of performing or rendering or offering to perform or render for a fee, salary, or other reward or compensation, services requiring an understanding of the principles and application of procedures and techniques in the supervision and care of women during pregnancy, labor and puerperium, and management of normal deliveries, including the performance of internal examination during labor, except when patient is with antenatal bleeding. That was emphasized by Ma'am Pat earlier. Also, health education of the patient, family, and community. Now, with the Universal Healthcare Law, the primary healthcare services in the community, including nutrition and family planning, in carrying out the written order of physicians with regard to antenatal, intranatal, and postnatal care of the normal pregnant mother. They also give immunizations, including oral and parenteral dispensing of oxytocic drug after delivery of the placenta, suturing of perineal lacerations to control bleeding, giving intravenous fluid during obstetrical emergencies, provided that they have been trained for that purpose, injecting vitamin K to the newborn, provided, however, that this provision shall not apply to students in midwifery schools who perform midwifery services under the supervision of their instructors, nor to emergency cases. Now, aside from the midwifery practice, we have also formulated the Code of Technical Standards for the professional practice of registered midwives in the Philippines. This was formulated by the board, the PRB, in coordination with other relevant government agencies like the Accredited Professional Organization, the APO, or specifically we have the EMAP now, and other stakeholders. Let me just give you some important points of this Code of Technical Standards because marami yan eh. But let me just point out some like ano ba yung qualifications ng mga midwives? So she must be a registered and a licensed practitioner. As far as her professionalism is concerned, she should have the attributes of competency, integrity, and professional attitude. What about her knowledge? She should have a knowledge, skills, and competencies gained from the social sciences, obstetrics and neonatology, public health, and ethics. What about self-regulation of professional practice? The midwife should assume the responsibility in maintaining competence and fitness to practice the profession. And this one, the Code of Ethics, this is very important. No, I have just chosen some of the important points on Code of Ethics, like rendering quality healthcare service to every client that is accepted. Second, charges of professional fees commensurate with the services actually performed. Third, performing with midwifery services only to normal, pregnant women and newborns, referring other medical cases to qualified physicians when necessary, and keeping confidential information received from the client in the course of the provision of professional service unless required to testify on such information to serve the end of justice. So those are the important things, aside from, of course, it was mentioned earlier that the continuing professional development, that we have to consider that CPD is a lifelong learning, which is a basic obligation and responsibility of professionals like the midwives. Now, what are the future plans of the midwifery education? Sana in-appreciate nyo ang mga binabahaging updates ng mga leaders in midwifery education, practice, and regulatory. Lahat ng ito ay ginagawa natin para sa pag-unlad ng ating propesyon. Now, let's move on to the future plans of the 3 key areas. Pakinggan natin ano-ano pa ba ang mga nakalatag na plano para mas mapalakas ang laban nyo bilang midwives sa propesyon na ito. For education, Ms. Met, please share the plans of APSOM for the education of our midwives.
Salamat, Dr. Bong. Magkano man tayo ka-busy, busy tayo kung ano ang nangyayari sa ating propesyon, sa education, sa practice at sa ating regulation, meron pa rin po tayong mga plano para sa ating mga midwives, lalong-lalo na sa midwifery profession. Sa midwifery education po, in line with the global direction of the WHO for midwifery education, APSOM and midwifery education will align the levels of midwifery education with optimized roles within the health and academic systems. Just like what we have told you, we have expanded roles in the introduction of PAMPAT. We have expanded role. We have laws that we need to integrate in the midwifery education so that we need to really address all of these laws, all of these administrative orders issued by concerned agencies to our curriculum so that our graduates will be abreast with what they are expected after their graduation. They have to optimize domestic production of midwives to meet or surpass health system demand. So as of now, there are already demands for midwifery profession, especially if our universal healthcare law will be totally implemented. One midwife for every barangay. So this means that we will need more midwives to be produced by the midwifery institution. And one of these things that DOH is sponsoring is scholarship. CHED has some scholarship. So APSOM and other midwifery organization can assist the student and the schools to avail of this opportunity for this scholarship of their students. Aside from that, design education program that are competency-based. So when we talk of competency-based, we need our student to be skillful once they already graduate. So to answer this, we have included a minimum of 2,700 hours for the clinical practicum of the students for them to develop the necessary skills so to be able to function as midwives after graduation. They also have to be effective learning design. Aside from that, we have to meet quality standards and align with population health needs. Our curriculum as of now was prepared during the 2007. This is the CMO 33 series of 2007. That was how many years ago? That was 18 years ago. And the content of the curriculum is not abreast with the present trends of the practice. But with the present PSG that we are preparing now, it will now be in contact with what is happening in the midwifery profession now. It will be abreast with what is happening globally, nationally, and internationally, so that we will be able to produce a competent, compassionate, and dedicated midwives. We also have to consider that faculty members are key to transfer of learning. So when we talk of trained faculty members, they should be skillful, not only in teaching, but also in the midwifery skills like our handling of delivery, assessment of prenatal, and other activities that a midwife should possess. So one way of developing the skills, the knowledge, and the values of our faculty members, APSOM will continuously conduct trainings, webinars, and other similar activities to help our students and our faculty members develop the competencies necessary to meet the ICM competencies, the international competencies for midwives, as well as the competencies required by our Professional Regulatory Commission, as well as the Commission on Higher Education. Aside from that, our midwifery curriculum will stress the importance of skills training of the students, especially the diagnostic skills. Students should be developed for them to have an observational eyes, for them to identify what is normal and abnormal, for them to be able to give care, effective quality care to our clients, to our laboratory skills, simple laboratory skills that will help identify any abnormalities of pregnancy, as well as primary health care skills. Sabi nga natin, ang midwife ay ang ating frontliners. Ang frontliners should have the competencies not only as a midwife, but also competencies that will need to meet the needs of our community. Sabi nga, ang frontliner, marami po siyang dalang sombrero sa ulo. Kailangan po siya maging midwife, kailangan po siya maging barangay health worker, kailangan po siya maging community health worker, pwede siyang community organizer. So dapat ang ating mga estudyante ay ma-develop nagkaroon ng ganitong skills. At alam nyo ba na ang transition ng DM to BSM, we have been talking about this for so many years ago. We started revising the curriculum in 2017. 2022 na po, wala pa po tayong bagong curriculum. Pero wag po kayong mainip, siguro mga 1 buwan or 2 buwan lang, lalabas na po ang ating bagong curriculum. Na-present na po namin ito sa CHED at ang bagong curriculum pong ito ay napakaganda dahil it will address the needs of our community, the needs of the LGU, as well as the needs of our international market. Hindi lamang pang Pilipinas, pang abroad pa ang competencies ng ating mga midwives. Pero hindi ko sinasabi, kaya tayo nag-i-improve ng ating curriculum ay para makapag-abroad ang ating mga midwives.
Yes.
Siyempre po, una muna ang ating Pilipinas bago makapag-abroad. At lagi po namin tinatandaan sa aming paggawa ng ating mga curriculum, tayo po ay magkaroon ng magandang edukasyon para po ang ating mga graduates ay hindi lamang maging competent. Kailangan po, meron po silang compassion, meron po silang commitment and dedication sa ating profesyon. So yung transition ng DM at BSM ay napakalaking hakbang para sa midwifery education. Kasi dati po, kailangan natin matapos ang 2 years. Kailangan maipasa natin ang licensure exam after 2 years bago tayo makapag-enroll sa BSM. Pero ito pong curriculum na ginagawa namin, hindi na po magbo-board exam sa 2 years. Ang board exam po ay nasa 4th year na that will answer the most of the problems of midwives na nag-BSM tapos naghahanap sila ng professional level. So siguro masaya kami para dito sa aming mga curriculum na ginagawa dahil ang curriculum na ito ay kasagutan sa pangangailangan ng health workers, pangangailangan ng ating bansa, at pangangailangan ng ating LGU. Ma'am Pat, meron pa dang plano ang IMAP. Alam ko ang IMAP mas maraming plano dahil alam natin ang midwife ay laging handa para makapag-provide ng quality maternal services. Ma'am Pat?
Thank you so much, Ms. Met. And of course, sabi nga natin, sino ba ang producer, di ba, ng mga magagaling na midwives, kundi ang ating educators, no? But we know that ang midwifery practice really is evolving, no? So the labor market is changing. More and more global, open and competitive. Sabi mo nga kanina, we are preparing our graduate midwives with this bachelor degree para magiging globally comparative. Of course, hindi natin sinasabi na pwede silang mag-abroad. Pero at the end of the day, is makapag-practice talaga sila dito sa ating bansa na ang kanilang practice ay talagang globally comparable. And the demand for competence, sinabi mo rin yun, is growing. So the APO, or the Accredited Professional Organization, plays a crucial role in equipping midwives with the necessary competencies to be globally, as mentioned, competitive and comparable. Even though sabi mo kanina, na-mention mo rin na 4-year na we're really pushing for the 4-year degree program, and I hope then and I know then that you have a very good news on this, no? So kaya lang sabi natin, despite of this pandemic, IMAP was able to conduct its virtual training, sabi ko kanina, on mentoring and monitoring for midwives as part of the implemented activities under the Save the Children project of IMAP. And alam natin that the 3M's program is a pioneering program of IMAP which was launched as a product of our USAID project and being presented internationally. For instance, like the ICM, no? Pinesenta natin ito sa ICM during the International Day of Midwives conference in Dubai. This is a flagship program that IMAP has been expanding for midwives nationwide through its local chapter collaboration with partners, of course, like the DOH, the LGU, and of course, the private sector. Okay, so itong sabi natin na ang talagang mentoring, di ba? Mentoring, ito yung sinasabi natin, paghubog, di ba, ng ating mga bagong graduate midwives by their senior midwives, of course, para bago ka man or medyo matagal ka na sa serbisyo, di ba, pare-parehas yung ating pagbibigay ng serbisyo. Okay? Again, of course, the APO, again, as mentioned, APO, Accredited Professional Organization, in partnership with government and non-government agencies, of course, will provide relevant trainings and skills development for midwives as needed in the areas of expertise, and ensure adequate demand jobs with respect to the health service delivery for primary healthcare and other population health priorities. Again, as mentioned, IMAP will continue to sustain. Alam naman natin that IMAP is an accredited training institution and at the same time CPD provider 001, number 1, no, di ba? Provider to provide midwives with both free and minimal fee webinars and trainings, no, as set actively, as trainings as set actively collaborates with several development and pharma partners. Marami tayong partners na gustong mag-support us in the trainings, of course, of midwives. This I mentioned also earlier, no? These webinars and trainings, again, as mentioned, the corresponding CPD units na mention ko kanina na meron tayong mga almost 100, no, just in 2020. Seminars, of course, with corresponding credit units. Also, IMAP has encouraged and helped midwives facilitate putting up their own birthing and standalone epiclinic so as to help fellow midwives continue having source of income amidst, of course, the ongoing pandemic. And of course, provide opportunities for educational advancement of midwives with corresponding roles and advancement of midwives, of course, with corresponding roles and responsibilities and related, of course, remuneration. No? So siguro the BSM program degree or the BSM degree program as lobbied, of course, by ERA also serve as a long-term solution, of course, for career advancement and higher professional opportunities for midwives. And of course, develop programs as CPD provider. We develop programs to enhance the technical, administrative, and management capacities that can equip midwives with leadership, of course, competencies. No? At dito sa ating leadership competencies and equipping midwives, of course, with leadership competencies, yung ating 3M's program ay naka-integrate na po doon yung leadership, leadership competencies natin. So, kung ikaw ay mentor, siyempre, no, mentoring and management, also preparing midwife to handle the roles and responsibility as clinic owners, as well as being health service or sector provider managers and supervisors. Ito ay naka-integrate na, no? Inunahan ko na si Mamet, naka-integrate na ito sa ating BSM program, no? And again, sabi ko nga, na-mention natin kanina, na IMAP has been offering courses and trainings on leadership as well, di ba? such as lectures. Gandang-ganda ako nung last convention natin. Gandang-ganda ako sa lecture ni Coach Chot Reyes, doon sa ating mga leaders. And hopefully masundan pa, di ba? Masundan pa ito. At napakaganda sa ating mga leaders, nagiging eye-opener din sa ating mga leaders na ito ay being isang leader ay hindi lang sa pangalan, kundi trabahuin natin yung ating sinumpaan, no? So again, in partnership, of course, with government and non-government agencies, IMAP will propose amendment of midwifery law. When in fact, I don't know if some of you are naalala na hanggang dapat nag-bycam na kami. Dr. Bong, naka-bycam na kami, nakatapos na kami sa Congress, nakatapos na kami sa Senate, naka-bycam na kami, kaya lang nasarahan kami ng Congress, no? So again, we will continue to propose amendment of midwifery law. And I hope then that before the end of, sinabi ko na rin sa ito, Dr. Bong, di ba? Before the end of the first quarter, sana tapos o tapusin na natin yung ating mga proposed amendment to midwifery law. And also, IMAP has already sent an official letter or itong right letter to Civil Service, yung Commission, when in fact nakapagsulat na kami dyan twice na, when in fact the latest letter natin to Civil Service ay noong November, no? Requesting them for a dialogue regarding career eligibility, the status, promotion requirements, of course, of government midwives, and update midwifery ethics and other relevant documents related to the practice, of course, together with the IRA. Ito yung na-mention na kanina ni Dr. Bong doon sa midwifery ethics. I don't know kung nakita natin at nabasa natin, Dr. Bong, and of course, Mamet, na I think we need to review the midwifery ethics kung align pa ba siya dito sa changing needs ng ating, di ba, ng ating practice, and at the same time, of course, doon sa ating bachelor's degree program for midwives, no? So again, that is right. That is, of course, these are the plans. Of course, ito yung mga plano, of course, ng association, and some of these plans are already right now being, of course, sabi nga natin, ay ito na ginagawa, of course, natin ng association, no? So when you say naman of future direction when it comes to the Professional Regulatory Board, Dr. Bong, can you share us also the future plans, of course, of the Regulatory Board? Thank you so much.
Yes, Ma'am Pat, ang dami nating inaabangan na ngayon na pagbabago, no? As far as education and practice of midwives are concerned. Now, let me proceed to the future plans of the Board of Midwifery. Currently, we are formulating the clinical guidelines for birthing clinics, which shall prescribe the rules that shall govern the establishment and operation of birthing centers or homes in the Philippines. We are still in the process of making these clinical guidelines. I have assigned a member of the board to draft the guidelines. It is now ready for us to discuss. First, we're going to discuss it among ourselves, the members of the board, and then later on, we will be discussing it with the leaders of the APO and the APSOM, with Ms. Pat and Ma'am Met here. And then after that, maybe we can discuss it with the other stakeholders as far as the DOH, PhilHealth, and so forth and so on. So we are in the process. And then continuously monitoring of birthing clinics, midwifery education, practice midwives, na-mention yan ni Ma'am Met, na-mention na ni Ma'am Pat, yung mga monitoring ng ating mga education ng midwives, and as far as yung practice of the midwives as well, no? Marami tayong dapat ayusin sa yung operating a birthing home facility, no? And then another thing is the monitoring and evaluation of CPD and CPSP activities for midwives, no? So I think tuloy-tuloy ang pag-accredit namin ng mga CPD providers, mga programs, and now even ang dami-dami natatanggap na mga applicants for SDL, self-directed learning, ang dami-dami. But in our meetings in the CPD Council, we have always emphasized that hindi natin ginagamit ang CPD para makapag-renew lang ng license. Dapat ginagamit natin ang ating CPD units para makaangat ang ating career, no? Sa career progression yan. So I hope that we will come to this point na hindi lang tayo nag-attend ng mga CPD activities para lang magkaroon ng units para makapag-renew ng license, kundi para umangat yung ating profesyon, no?
So maraming salamat Doc Bong and Mamet. So para sa ating Laban Talks today, atin pong sasagutin ang mga frequently asked question na nagmula sa ating mga kasangga. Okay? So for our first question, there are some graduates of diploma in the midwifery of more than 5 years who have not taken the midwifery licensure examination. Can they still take the midwifery licensure exam? Ano kaya ang mga requirements nito? Do they need to enroll again in the midwifery program? I think si Doc Bong and maybe to be added of course by Mamet.
Ma'am Pat, yes, definitely they can still take the midwifery licensure examinations provided they are compliant with the requirement of the IRR of Republic Act 7392. I have mentioned earlier that we are waiting for the approval of the extension of the moratorium in which we are considering cases done before 5 years earlier than the examination period.
Okay, in relation to do they need to enroll again to their respective schools? There's no need to enroll in their respective school because some of the midwives now who have graduated and did not take the exam are now in different provinces or different areas. All they have to do is to look for a government hospital or a private birthing clinic wherein they can get their cases required by the IRR of 7392. Let the proprietor or the clinic owner of the clinic sign the cases that they have handled, or the government administrator of a hospital, pwedeng chief nurse, or pwedeng hospital administrator, instead of the dean, sila po ang pipirma. But they should always consider that those who will supervise them in the handling of actual deliveries, internal examination, suturing, perineal suturing, and IV insertion should have a training on RA 7392, expanded role of the midwives. So hindi na po kailangan bumalik sa school. Yung po mga graduates, pwede na po kayong kumuha ng inyong mga cases kung saan po kayo nandoon. Pero kung matutulungan kayo ng school ninyo para makumpleto ito, mas maganda po. Pero kung malayo na kayo sa school, humanap na po kayo ng bagong area, hospital, birthing clinic kung saan po kayo makakakuha ng cases.
Okay, so another question, I hope Dr. Bong again and Ms. Met will answer this. What will happen to the graduates of diploma in midwifery who have not passed the midwifery license examination if the straight BSM program will be implemented?
Let me answer it first. As of now, since there's no BSM straight program, the licensure examination is still after the diploma in midwifery. Once BSM straight program is already approved, then there will still be a transition period. So all the graduates will have the opportunity to take the licensure examination. Ms. Met, do you have additional information on the updates on the BSM straight program?
Yes, Doc. So we have our updates. The draft BSM straight program was revised, including our RPRH law, Universal Healthcare Law, the ICM competencies. This was already presented to CHED and Bank last Monday, and then we already have the approval of the commission for the PSG, but we still need to have some minor revisions based on the recommendation of the commissioners of CHED. So hopefully, matatapos po namin ang aming revision by February. So it is timely that this new PSG will be implemented in the first semester of school year 2022-2023. Aside from that, the PSG has adopted the DOH PRC ICM competencies to enable the graduate to be globally comparable, sabi nga namin ni Ma'am Pat, globally comparable, at para po matugunan niya anong pangangailangan ng ating Pilipinas, ng ating komunidad, para po magkaroon tayo ng maayos na implementation ng ating health system. Sa iyo naman, Ma'am Pat, para sa ating mga midwifery practitioners, paano ba matutulungan ng higher midwifery education be accredited by the Civil Service Commission in promoting the job position of midwives, particularly the government midwives? Also, how are you going to help the BSM graduates to get the civil service professional level? Sabi nga kanina, gumagraduate sila, di ba, ng 2 years exam, tapos pag graduate ng BSM, ano ba ang magiging level nila, Ma'am Pat?
Thank you, Ma'am Met, for that question. Alam naman natin, di ba, nabanggit mo na rin, ano ba ang importansya? Bakit nga natin gin-push, di ba? Tatlo din tayo doon, ira din yon, di ba? Bakit natin gin-push ang BSM program? Ito ay sa kadahilanan na marami nang nagrereklamo, di ba, sa ating mga midwives dahil diploma, after 2 years sila, nag-board exam, sub-prof sila, di ba, sub-prof. So paano ba magkaroon ng professional level when it comes to civil service? So dapat BSM ka, di ba, or sabi natin BS degree ang programa mong natapos at nag-exam ka. So BSM, sinabi natin, is a degree program that leads to professionalizing the midwifery profession. And as of now, midwives are regarded as professionals by the PRC. But of course, sabi nga natin, sa civil service ay equivalent tayo sa sub-prof. Diba? So the midwifery licensure exam, sabi ko nga kanina, was taken on the 2-year program. And sabi natin, sub-prof pa rin sila. No? So to be elevated in the professional level, the BSM or the midwife should be able to finish their bachelor's degree and must take, of course, the board exam after finishing 4 years. So magiging professional level, of course, ang kanilang, what you call this, yung kanilang ma-credit ang kanilang board exam under the professional level, di ba? So yun ang kailangan natin. Kaya nga tayo nagpo-push, di ba, ng bachelor's degree for midwives para maiwasan natin or mawala na yung mga tanong, ma'am, sub-prof kami, ma'am, hindi kami ma-promote, di ba? So mga ganon ang mga discussion ng ating mga midwives, no? And even in many convention, pangalawa na yata, no? So representative from the Civil Service Commission have discuss this issue also. Paano tayo magkaroon or sabi natin, paano tayo tumaas doon sa professional level? So sinabi nga niya, kasi nga ang sub-prof ang diploma at yung BSM natin ay sa professional level na, di ba? So,
question number 4. Ako po ang magtatanong sa iyo. What will happen to those who will graduate of 2-year program who did not enroll in the BSM? Ano ba sa palagay mo ang mangyayari dito sa mga midwives na ito na ayaw mag-enroll ng BSM?
Di ba nabanggit mo na rin kanina yun, Miss Met, di ba? Nabanggit mo na rin yun kanina na ma-retain sila, di ba, sa sub-professional level. And of course, sabi mo nga, the promotion will be delayed because of the presence of the BSM graduates na lang, di ba? Alam naman natin, di ba, na ang promotion to what you call this, in accordance to the civil service, bago ka ma-promote ay may certain criteria, di ba? Ano ba itong mga criteria na ito, di ba? Right qualification. And when you say of right qualification, ano yan? Right education, number of years na pag-aaral mo, length of service, kahit na ba may length of service ka, matagal ka na dyan, pero ang iyong educational qualification is 2 years, hindi pa rin masama, di ba? And of course, satisfactory discharge of your duties. Kung maganda naman yung iyong serbisyo, di ba, doon sa iyong sa community, kasama din po yon. And of course, sabi nga natin, decent behavior or successful passing, of course, of regular interviews and examination by the agency you are applying to. So, kaya nga kailangan natin talaga na bago tayo ma-promote or bago tayo magkaroon ng professional level, mag-enroll talaga tayo sa BSM. Ako, ini-encourage ko ang mga midwives ngayon na hindi pa nakapagtapos ng kanilang BSM to enroll, of course, your what you call this, to enroll to the schools na offer ng BSM graduates, kasi sabi kanina ni Dr. Bong ay meron lang 3 years yata, di ba, Miss Met, no? 3 years na what you call this, transitory period o transition na ibinibigay sa ating mga graduates who are already graduates of diploma at nakapasa sa board exam for you to get the or you to enroll the BSM program. Pero pag wala na, 'di ba, parang mahirapan na siguro kayo, 'di ba? Or I think you have to start from the very beginning with the BSM program. So sana naman I would like to encourage all our diploma graduates, board passers, of course, to enroll now in the BSM program natin. Para naman again sa iyo, Mamet, how can the midwifery education be used as a tool in giving it a distinction, ito palaging tanong over the nursing profession and other allied healthcare professionals? Diba sabi Miss Met, ay kung mag 4-year ang midwifery, di ang mag-nursing na lang ako. Miss Met, please.
Totoo po yun. Para bang second-rate copycat ang ating midwifery. Pagka ikaw ay nag 4-year, bakit ako magpo 4-year? May nursing naman na BSN. Diba? So alam nyo, based doon sa ating RA 7392, ang midwife ay very distinct sa maternal and child care and primary healthcare services. Ang midwife nakatutok sa ilang specialization, unlike in the nursing. Ang nursing po kasi ay maraming specialization na tinitingnan. Pero si midwife, very distinct po tayo as compared to other profession. Lalong-lalo na sa nursing na laging kinukumpara sa atin. Tayo po nakapokus sa nanay, sa baby, sa paglaki ng baby, at sa ating primary health care. And that is very distinct kasi naandun ang husay ni midwife. At para maging mahusay si midwife, kailangan ang magandang edukasyon at magandang experience ni midwife. Although may overlapping of function ang nurse at midwife, but this should not be taken negatively because this should be taken positively because they can work collaboratively and they could be a partner as member of the healthcare team. Aside from that, para lalong maging distinct ito, yung PSG na ginagawa namin or yung curriculum na ginagawa namin, in-strengthen pa po namin ano ang competencies ng midwife na naiiba sa nurses. Ang competencies ng midwife in terms of family planning, ano ba yung kayang gawin ni midwife na bihirang gawin ni nurse. Hindi natin sinasabing hindi kaya ni nurse, na bihira nilang binibigyan ng atensyon at binibihira nilang magawa. The primary health care, sabi nga natin, tayo ang frontline workers ng ating primary health care. So, hindi tayo ang bumababa sa field. That makes us a distinct profession. At aside from that, yung ginagawa po natin sa curriculum na ito, hindi lamang po pang Pilipinas. Sabi ko kanina, pwede na tayong pang international level because the International Confederation of Midwives Core Competencies and the WHO Core Competencies ay naipasok natin dito sa bago nating ginagawang curriculum. So mas maganda po, naka-enroll kayo ng BSM at yung mag-enroll pa na straight program ng BSM, nagagawan po natin ng paraan para lalong lumago at gumanda ang practice ng midwifery profession. So, meron tayong katanungan dito. Sabi nga, I am a midwife, Doc Bong. Ako po ay member ng Barangay Health and Emergency Response Team or the BERT. Will my work experience earn CPD units, and how can I apply for CPD units? Doc Bong?
Well, actually, kami ni Ma'am Met ang nasa CPD Council. Well, anyway, meron tayong tinatawag na Professional Regulation Commission, Resolution number 1239, Series of 2020, which states that health and emergency frontliners that provide public health services. These are all the employees of the Department of Health, DOH hospitals, hospitals of LGUs, provincial, city, and rural health units, other government agencies, including military hospitals, university medical facilities, private health workers, volunteers of the Philippine Red Cross, and others. All these are entitled to have their self-directed learning CPD units. And we are giving a maximum CPD units as many as high as 45 units.
Yeah.
And aside from that, volunteer professionals who offer services during the COVID-19 crisis, including answering queries about COVID-19, online consultation, public health, education, and other activities directly related to their profession, anything that is something to do with COVID-19 pandemic. We also give CPD units through the SDL, no, the self-directed learning. Volunteer professionals who respond and participate in social responsibility programs, projects, who collect, pack, and distribute medical supplies and masks, PPE, and distribute food to frontliners in hospitals, medical facilities, and security checkpoints. Even this, may mga corresponding CPD units din na pwede nating ibigay through the self-directed learning. So we give a maximum CPD units of about 25. Yung ordinary work lang nila in the hospital or in any health facility, as low as 10 units lang. Even that, mataas na rin na CPD units for our frontliners. How to apply for CPD units? These are the requirements. The applicant should get a certification from institution, from the agency, or from entity. You request your organization authorized officer to fill up the PRC form. You have to download, I think, the PRC Resolution 1239, Annex A. Yung form na yun, you have to download it, or I think you just have to fill it up and then send it. The document must be duly notarized and submitted to the CPD Council, of course, CPD Council of the Midwifery, and all covered professionals shall submit proof of the services that are rendered. So we also require certification from the supervisor, usually the immediate supervisor, that the applicant does all these activities.
So, thank you so much, Dr. Bong, sa pagpaliwanag. Tingnan mo yan, kahit nagtatrabaho ka sa ospital, alam naman natin, hindi ka sila maka-attend, no? So, meron CPD units silang makukuha, di ba? Serving, of course, those who are sick with COVID-19. And as well as pagbibigay lang ng mga, relief goods sa ating mga affected na mga community. So, dito tayo ngayon, di ba, sa ating career progression. Alam ko, 3 din naman tayo, di ba? Daira din ito ang nagtatrabaho. So, what is the status right now of our progression or career progression and specialization, no? Siguro si Doc Bong muna ang magsagot. Doc Bong?
Yes. As far as the creation of career progression and specialization programs is concerned, the PRB, or the Professional Regulatory Board of Midwifery, and the Professional Regulation Commission both envision to have registered professional midwives who are competent, caring, and capable of providing high-quality health care to women, babies, families, and communities in different settings in the Philippines and in other countries. Paulit-ulit nating sinasabi ito because these are the scopes of function of the midwives, no, which are incorporated in the Republic Act 7392. So another one is it aims to strengthen the capability of the professional midwives to progress within the career development continuum through the career progression and specialization program. As I have mentioned earlier, sana yung CPD units na yan, they are aligned to this career progression and specialization programs that we are establishing. Ms. Met, can you share the career pathways of the midwifery profession?
Yes, no. So we have 2 pathways for our career progression. The 2 pathways are for our midwifery professional track and the academic track. So for those graduates of midwifery, graduates of the diploma in midwifery, you have 2 tracks. One is our professional track. So when we talk of professional track, nandito tayo sa educational framework ng ating ano. So we always start with our level 5. So our level 5 will always be under the technical vocational program na kapantay ng ating 2-year program. So para po sa ating sa ating pathway for our professional track, kailangan po magkaroon tayo ng magandang practice ng ating profesyon. So para po magkaroon tayo ng magandang practice ng ating profesyon, kailangan po magkaroon tayo ng adequate experience. Kailangan po magkaroon tayo ng magandang education. So kailangan po i-combine kasi natin talaga ang education at practice. So kung tayo po ay makakakuha ng BSM, papasok po tayo sa qualification natin number 6 plus the practice. Kung tayo po naman ay papasok sa Philippine Qualification Framework of Level 7, we need a master's degree and our practice. And then qualification number 8, we will need a doctorate degree plus our practice. Sinasabi natin kanina yung academic track. Many of us will not be interested anymore to enroll in our BSM. Bakit ba? Bakit ba ako mag-enroll ng BSM? Ako po ay 50 years old na. Bakit pa ako mag-enroll ng BSM? Hindi po ba natin alam na yung pag-enroll natin sa BSM ay magiging equivalent ng ating career pathways? Kasi ang career pathways na yan ay magli-lead naman sa ating specialization. At yung specialization na yon ay mag-aangat sa atin ang level natin sa profesyon. Example po, tayo po ay graduate ng diploma in midwifery. We want to have the academic track. What are we going to do? We need to enroll in our bachelor's degree. It's either Bachelor of Science in Midwifery or other degrees that will be related to midwifery. So, are we going to be complacent if we may have our BS degree? We always have to consider that we should always be hungry for education. We should always be hungry for new knowledge. So, we enroll in our master's degree. So, master's degree plus our experience in midwifery, we will be pursuing our doctorate degree to reach our Philippine Qualification Framework Level 8. And this Philippine Qualification Level 8 is now applicable to our career path and specialization. We know that we have levels of career progression. Sinasabi natin, kung ako po ay nagtigil sa BS sa Diploma in Midwifery, papasok po ba ako sa career progression and specialization? Hindi po tayo magiging qualified sa career progression kasi nandito lang po tayo sa level 5. Ang career progression po natin ay papasok sa level 6. Kaya everyone is encouraged to have your pathway. Bata ka pa, nakagraduate ako ng midwifery at the age of 21, diploma in midwifery, go on, study and get adequate training practices for you to have a good pathway. So, para mas dagdagan pa natin ito, pupunta tayo sa career progression. Anong mangyayari? Halimbawa, ako po ay nag-enroll ng BSM. Ang aking pong major, ako po ay nag-major ng Midwifery Education Management. So, nag-BSM po ako, nag-BSM. So, ako po ay nasa Philippine Qualification Level 6. Level 6 na po ako. So, ngayon, meron po akong adequate training, meron po akong adequate experience sa aking profession as midwifery faculty member. Pwede po ako magpa-assess sa PRC, CPSP Council. Bakit po? Magpapa-assess po ako. Anong level of qualification na po ba ako? Ako po ba ay nasa competent midwifery practice in education? Ako po ba ay proficient midwifery practice in education? O ako po ba ay expert na sa midwifery education? Ano po ba ang kapalit nito? Ito pong kapalit na ito ay, kung ikaw ay nasa gobyerno, this is another another feather in your hat kasi this is a promotion. Kung ikaw naman po ay nasa private practice, ay magandang ilagay yan sa inyong mga clinic na ibig sabihin, ako pala ay expert, ako pa ay proficient, at ako pala ay competent. Paano natin ma-attain itong bawat level na ito? Ang competent midwifery practice in education, kailangan po natin at least 3 years teaching experience. Meron tayong dalawang taong experience sa clinical at meron tayong mga training na naganap at nung nagpa-assess tayo, lahat po ng ating mga ginawang procedure ay tama. So, competent na ako. Kailan po ba ako dapat magpa-assess? Pwede ka pong magpa-assess after 3 years. Nakagraduate ako ng BSM, huwag ka muna magpa-assess ngayon kasi hindi ka papapasa sa competent because of the numbers of years of experience. So dito, nakikita po natin na every 2 years ang iyong assessment. Ngayong taon na to, na-assess ako, competent midwife educator na ako. Binigyan ako ng certificate as competent midwife educator. After 2 years, may master's degree na ako, ay pa-assess ako ulit. Baka papasok na ako sa proficient. Ay nagdoctoral ako after 3 years or 4 years, ay nagdoctoral degree ako. Baka pumapasok na ako sa expert. So dapat po sinasabi natin, ito pong career progression, specialization, at sa ating career pathways ay napaka-importante sa atin. Hindi lamang po sa mga taong naandito na sa taas. Ito po ay mas importante sa mga taong nagsisimula pa lang kasi kayo po ang napakaraming opportunity para mapaayos ninyo ang inyong mga career pathways. So, yung karagdagan pong career pathways, institutional practice, at ang ating community health practice ay may di-discuss po ni Ma'am Pat.
Thank you so much, Miss Met. Actually, pares lang din, no? Ang institutional natin at saka community practice ay halos pares lang din siya, no? Nag-umpisa ka sa level 6, di ba? At competent ka ba, proficient ka ba, expert ka ba? So ako naman, Ma'am Met, I'm sorry, kaya lang ako very forward looking. Kaya nag-start na talaga ako sa level 6, di ba? So ang level 6, ano ba naman yan, 'di ba? Alam niyo kasi hindi naman 'to sa totoo lang hindi ito sabi natin gawa-gawa lang din natin sa PRC. May batas kasi ito siya ng pinanggalingan. Itong sinatabi natin, Philippine Qualification Act or RA 10968. So batas na ito po siya na dapat inaatasan yung ating Board of Midwifery, yung ating regulatory boards, yung ating educators, and at the same time yung APO na gumawa nito ng sinasabi natin CPSP, Career Progression. Ito na yung hinahanap natin. Bakit? Paano ako ma-promote? Diba? Hindi ka ma-promote, sabi nga ni Ms. Met, kung diploma ka. So dapat, ito yung ating, yung career progression na sinasabi, or sabihin natin yung saan ka nababanda. It describes the level of your educational qualification with aligned doon sa industry need. Ba't ako kukuha or saan ka ba ngayon? Expert ka na? Okay, expert ka na kasi maraming trainings, ang education mo ay sa di ba? PhD degree ka na. So yung mga ganon, so nag-a-align siya doon sa industry need. Halimbawa, si DOH, kailangan ko ang supervisor. So ano dapat ang qualification ko? 'Di ba dapat master's degree graduate din ako? 'Di ba? Ay kung program manager na ang kailangan nila. O dapat 'di ba? Yung PhD degree graduate ka na. So yun ang sinasabi nating career progression. Ito na ang kasagutan natin para tayo ma-promote. Diba? Para tayo masweldohan ng malaki. Paano ka naman sabihin ang daming tanong? Ma'am, paano ako pang-promote? Ma'am, paano ako masweldohan ng malaki? Paano kung diploma graduate ka pa rin? Hindi mo pa rin dinadagdagan yung iyong level of education and at the same time yung trainings mo, di ba? For you to become an expert in the midwifery profession, and you are now in the level 8, no? Kung yun ang kailangan ng industry. Ibig sabihin, ano ba ang kinakailangan ng industry? Diba? Na pwede kong applyan with my qualification, with my level of education. Yun lang ang ibig sabihin nun eh. 'Di ba doon sa ating napakababang explanation natin, 'di ba? So kailangan mo mag-progress, kailangan mo ng promotion, mag-aral ka, at of course trainings mo, iipunin mo 'yon, 'di ba? Yun ang dapat, 'di ba? Sabi ko nga kanina, what are the 4 pillars, o sabihin natin ano ang 4 na pamantayan ng civil service para ma-promote ka. So yun na-discuss talaga yung education, no? Yung education, and of course, level of pagtatrabaho mo ilang taon na. Of course, but isa lang yan. Isang parameter lang yan, di ba? So dito, pinapahalagan yung talagang yung edukasyon natin. That's the reason na hindi kami tumigil na ira para ma-approve yung ating BSM program. And huwag kayo huwag kayong magtaka, or baka mamaya sasabihin na naman kami, you work already on the master's degree program for midwifery. Kasi meron na yun sa ibang bansa di ba? So we want the midwifery profession to be globally comparable and globally competitive. Hindi mawawala yung master's program in midwifery, and of course yung PhD degree in midwifery. So, yun lang din siguro ang aking masabi, Ma'am Met. So, ngayon, grabe, ang ganda ng ating talakayan, di ba? Ang ating talakayan ay talagang napakaganda at akmang-akma doon sa ating title, no? So, maraming salamat, Ma'am Met, of course, the President of the Educators Group, and Dr. Bong, of course, our Chairman of the Regulatory Commission. Bago nating tapusin ang ating usapan ngayong araw, do you have some key messages para sa ating mga makakasangga? I think let's go first with our educator, Ma'am Met Padilla, please.
Okay, so midwifery education is committed to produce competent, compassionate, and committed midwives that is globally comparable. Updating the curriculum and competencies of the graduates will contribute to the demands of the health system and quality and respectful maternal care. Rest assured that midwifery education will be keeping its eye on the improvement of the midwifery profession through education. Salamat po sa inyong lahat. Doc Bong, meron po ba kayong final words para sa ating mga kasangga?
Yes, bago tayo magtapos, maraming salamat, Ma'am Pat, Ma'am Met. And may I, before my final words, let me just make this disclosure. I am not a midwife, but I am leading the midwives. Now, let me give this message to the midwives. We study hard in order to finish a course so we can work and earn a living. In the practice of our profession, let us observe the values of honesty, excellence, and integrity. Let us not allow ourselves to be ruled by materialism. And being in the regulatory board, these are my last words. Avoid going against the rules. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Bong. And as far as I'm concerned, as IMAP is concerned, of course, IMAP remains, di ba? True to its mission and vision to elevate the standards of midwifery education, of course, through our educators, and to help midwives be globally comparable in providing quality midwifery services. When in fact, sana, di ba, maganda na kung ipipresent na natin to internationally, of course, napakagandang progression, of course, in the midwifery practice sa Pilipinas. IMAP will continue to proactively innovate and pull its resources to ensure that Filipino midwives will be provided with CPD programs and, of course, CPD activities. No? IMAP, again, will sustain its productive collaboration with both government and non-government agencies through projects and programs that will benefit the midwives and, of course, promote the midwifery profession. So with that, maraming salamat and thank you so much, of course. Dito na po nagtatapos ang ating talakayan on the future direction of midwifery. Sana ay marami kayong natutunan at napalakas ang inyong laban para sa patuloy na pag-unlad ng ating profesyon. Maraming salamat mga kasangga sa pakikinig at pagsama sa ating makabagong talakayan at napapanahong usapan dito sa IMAP LABAN Talks. Good day!